They paid him extremely good money, but he bit off more than he could chew and sometimes didn't deliver. So the truth is, Michelangelo, of course, was a very gifted man, very gifted artist. And if he was an artist today, he'd probably be paid a lot of money too. But he was not poor, like sometimes we like to think he is, that he actually died an extremely wealthy man. But he was known also to be a bit of a miser, to walk around and to talk a bit about how poor he was, and to complain a lot about not being paid when in reality he was paid. Hi, this is Anita with 5 Minutes with Art. You know, when a lot of people think of Michelangelo, they think about the Sistine Chapel. And when you look online and you look at questions people are asking or questions that people want to know, one of the things that you see a lot together with the Sistine Chapel is the question about whether or not Michelangelo was ever paid for his work with the Sistine Chapel. He was paid 3,200 gold ducats, which really was quite a bit of money during that time. But, you know, Michelangelo is kind of a bit of an interesting character because we sort of have this vision of him being sort of this poor, poverty-stricken sort of artist because he really complained a lot that people didn't pay him well, they didn't pay him enough, he just wasn't being paid. But actually, just to give you some kind of perspective, that for the Sistine Chapel would have worked out to about 750 ducats per year, which was quite a bit of money. For his statue David, he got 400 ducats for his work with this whole statue David. And for the Pieta statue, he got 450 for his work there. So in other words, for the Sistine Chapel, he was earning, double or triple or, 3 or 4 times more than he was from some of his other work, what's considered some of his other great work. But what is interesting about this is we know from September 1510, to about mid-1511, or maybe a little bit longer, maybe it was about a year, Michelangelo refused to do any work on the Sistine Chapel ceiling painting. He had dispute about his payment. And so he just basically said, I refused to work. The Pope at the time was out of town. He was on some campaign somewhere. And Michelangelo twice went to visit him and tell him, pay me. And the Pope did not pay him until the Pope came back. So we know that he stopped working because he complained for non-payment. But here's the thing that I didn't know about it, and I don't know if a lot of other people do, but recently, Michelangelo's bank books have been discovered. And, he passed himself off as this poverty-stricken artist. But the truth is, when he died an extremely wealthy man. He amassed a huge amount of fortune during his lifetime. Records show that he was extremely wealthy, that he had more money than many of the royal family had during that time in Italy. So you can imagine, he had a huge amount of money. It was a Professor Rab Hatfield who found the books and has done some research. He's with Syracuse University in Florence, and he said this to the Los Angeles Times about Michelangelo. He was a funny sort of man, somewhat paranoid and somewhat dishonest, who didn't want it to be known he was fabulously rich. He actually was very, very wealthy, and he was also known to take a lot of commissions that he never finished. One of them was for the Pope's tomb. He was supposed to do 40 statues. He only finished, I think it was 3 or 4 of them, but yet he took a lot of money for that of work that he never completed. When he died, there was 8,400 ducats found in a wooden box next to his bed. So he had 8,400, let's say, of these dollars or these gold coins in the bed, in the wooden box next to his bed. To put this into some kind of perspective, during this time, a palace that was in Florence would have cost about 9,000 gold ducats. So in other words, he had enough money next to his bed when he died to be able to build a small palace somewhere. And speaking of this, again, Rob Hatfield said, Michelangelo tried to give the impression that his patrons, especially the popes, had treated him unfairly, when the reverse was true. They paid him extremely good money, but he bit off more than he could chew and sometimes didn't deliver. So the truth is, Michelangelo, of course, was a very gifted man, very gifted artist. And if he was an artist today, he'd probably be paid a lot of money too. But he was not poor like sometimes we like to think he is, that he actually died an extremely wealthy man. But he was known also to be a bit of a miser, to walk around and to talk a bit about how poor he was, and to complain a lot about not being paid when in reality he was paid. The 5 Minutes with Art podcast is brought to you by AnitaLouiseArt.com. We'll put a link below to our blog and to our website in the description. Thank you so much for listening. We truly do appreciate your support, and we hope that you've enjoyed joining with us for 5 minutes a week to be able to learn some interesting facts and other things about art and the art world. Share this podcast with your friends and let them know about it. And we hope that you will also subscribe and become part of our community. Thank you again.